Hey guys, Tara Mullarkey. Welcome back to the podcast, Seven Figure Coach. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome. You probably can see that I am in a totally different background. I'm not in my Florida house. I am in actually a mountain house in North Carolina, escaping the heat from Florida for a bit. And today I want to talk to you about how to raise your financial thermostat. This is a topic that I talk about almost every week on every coaching call that I have. And it is something that's so near and dear to my heart because it's something that I struggled with for years. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to explain what is a set point, what is a thermostat, how does that relate to finances? Well, if you're anything like me, there was quite a long period in the early years of my business that I could not just get past the six-figure threshold. And I couldn't understand it because I was working really hard. I was doing all the things. I was watching what everyone else was doing. I was doing what they're doing. I was working like day and night. And no matter what I did, I couldn't figure out how to get past a certain point. I could see other people and they were going to multiple six figures, seven figures, multiple seven figures. And I just couldn't figure out what I was missing. I was doing all the actions, but it wasn't happening for me. And so that's when I realized that there had to be something deeper. I started reading a bunch of books. The two that I'll mention here, if you haven't read them, I talk about them all the time, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and A Big Leap. They talk about this idea of how we have set points. We have set points as it relates to our health. We have set points as it relates to relationships. We have set points as it relates to finances. And so I'll just explain it this way. A thermostat or a set point, right? If actually the thermostat for this house is right there. And so it might be set right now on 72 degrees, let's say. And if I open the door and it's, 85 or 86 or 87 degrees outside, and I leave the door open because the dog, went out in the yard, then what's going to happen is the air conditioning is going to turn on, right? It's going to try to bring the temperature in the house down as the heat from the door comes in. Okay. And so, because it's set, the thermostat is set for 72. As soon as the thermostat goes beyond 72, then the air conditioning kicks on, and the same works with the heat, right? So we all understand this. And this is exactly how it works with your money as well. Everyone has a set point that you are set to. Your thermostat is set to a certain amount of money. Isn't this crazy? So even if you want it to be $1 billion, multiple hundreds of millions of dollars, you have a set point, and that set point is dictated by your nervous system, your beliefs, your mindset, your upbringing, which is, tied into your beliefs. And so a lot of us are not even aware of how we think about money and how that is affecting how much money we're allowing to come in. Okay. So one of the key points that I want to reiterate is that when I couldn't figure this out, I was doing all the actions that I thought I needed to do. I was not breaking through that ceiling for lack of work. I know how to work hard. I come from a family of hard workers. In fact, my grandparents and behind them were all cattle farmers in Ireland. And so if you know anything about that, farming is one of the hardest jobs, right? It's very labor intensive, and you get up early in the morning and you're working in the fields, and it's hard work. And my parents grew up on farms, and they were working on farms since they were kids. So I didn't grow up on a farm, but I feel like it's in my genes. We work hard. It is a value that's instilled in us. We work really hard. So I couldn't understand how I had the same amount of hours in the day and I was working really hard, and how were other people making more than me, right? And so the first thing that you have to, understand is that you have to bring some awareness to this area of your life. And the awareness has to be focused on like, what are your beliefs around money? So you might want to make or attract or receive a certain amount, but your beliefs might not line up with that. Like if you really ask yourself, you might not believe that you're worthy of that, right? You might not believe that what you do, your skill set, is worthy of receiving at that level. And so if that's the case, you will actually block it. You will have beliefs about how much work is actually needed to earn a certain amount. This was something that was really key for me that I will get to in a second, but I had a lot of beliefs about how hard I had to work to earn a certain amount. That was just based on my upbringing and what I saw my parents do and my extended family do. And so what happens is we actually can sabotage our money life unconsciously. And so the reason I'm bringing this to you is because I want you to start to look at and ask yourself some questions that I'm going to give you. What is your financial thermostat right now? And the only way to change your financial thermostat is to ask yourself some questions and actually start to do work around the awareness of these questions. And the books that I mentioned before, they were super, super key for me in really diving deep into this topic, examining my life and my beliefs. And for me, putting a lot of prayer to it. God says that he can reveal, he can provide, but he actually still wants you to take action, right? He still wants you to go out, and biblically we see this in so many stories. He still requires, to go out and actually take action. So we know that action is required, but a lot of us have an unrealistic, belief around how much action is actually needed. So isn't that crazy when you think about it? Like a billionaire has the same amount of hours in the day as someone who is homeless, right? And yeah, there's a lot of in between there and skill set and all of that, but a lot of it comes down to belief. And beliefs are actually usually installed early in life, right? By what you see and what you're told. And so I want you to ask yourself, what do you think that your financial set point is right now? So I encourage you, like I had a client recently and she just really wanted to get past that 20K a month mark. She kept hitting it, and then the next month she wouldn't hit it, and then she'd hit it again. And then 2 months later, it would be like back to like 10K again. She just like couldn't seem to get to 20 and sustain it to go higher, because she wanted to go higher. But a lot of times, right, we just need to sustain ourselves at the level that we want to be at. We'd be like, this is good. Expenses are paid in my coaching business. I'm feeling good. There's a little bit of abundance. There's a little bit of a cushion. I can start reinvesting more into, hiring people or ads or something. And then I can do more. But she wasn't getting to that more part. When we analyzed it, what happened was she would hit her financial set point at 20K. And so what would happen is she would stop working a little bit. She would sort of relax a little bit in the next month. And because she had hit what's comfortable, what she feels like she deserves, right? What was comfortable for her, it kind of relieved any anxiety that came up around money. So if she wasn't making the money she needed to, like up until that 20K, she'd have a lot of anxiety. That anxiety was motivating her to work harder, right? As soon as she would hit where the anxiety was reduced, then she would just pull back a little bit. And so this is her set point. And the anxiety has a lot to do with it. And she needed to start to examine, what is my point? Why do I stop working? Where's the anxiety? Why isn't not that we want the anxiety to continue, actually want to just come to a normal place around that. Then she's able to allow more to come in, because she didn't just, get relief, right? Just like the air conditioning goes off as soon as the temperature hits that set point, the thermostat. And so the air conditioning stops going on once that temperature is hit. And so if we want to grow, we actually have to still keep doing the things without it being anxiety inducing, without it being something that we're panicking about. We really have to heal that part of us that goes teeter totter, up and down, up and down. Okay, another question would be, how do you feel about people who have money around you? Like, what opinions do you have about them, how they spend their money? Do you have negative opinions about them and how they spend their money? Do you have jealousy? Do you have like undeservedness, right? Like you're like, why do they deserve it? Anything underneath that. And then the other question I want you to ask yourself is, how much do you trust yourself with money? So one of the things for me was I realized that I was actually deeply afraid of having overflow, meaning having a lot of money in the bank and not needing it. I didn't know what to do with that. I had never witnessed this. I always witnessed my mom's struggle, kind of like month to month, and like hope it all came together. And it always did. And we had a good life, but it was always like you could feel that it was a hope and a prayer and let's hope it all comes together. So I didn't have any experience of a family, or anyone in my life, honestly, who just had more than enough. Like, there was a lot of money sitting in the bank they didn't need to use every month. I had no context for this. And so I had a lot of fear, and fear obviously and trust don't go together. So part of me didn't trust myself because I didn't know what I was supposed to do with that. And it scared me to have that because I felt pressure. Like, what am I supposed to do with it? Maybe I'm going to lose it, right? Then there's the fear of loss of it. And then the other question, this is the final one that I'll give you, but if you go to the books, there's so many more great exercises and questions in those books. But what did your parents say about money? So for me, there was a lot of stuff around struggle, that you don't deserve money unless you are like literally working yourself to the bone, like unless you're exhausted and stressed and like working so hard you can barely sleep and there's so much sacrifice, like you don't deserve to receive money, And I even have had the experience now that I have overflow and more than enough. And I have people in my life, in my family, that I can't really be honest about some of that because their judgment from them will be like, gosh, you don't even work that hard. And it will be kind of mean. And that's their own stuff, right? That they haven't overcome. So they will just live in that cycle of struggle. And I had to do a lot of work to get to here, to get to allow more than enough, that I don't have to worry about money, that I don't have to worry about paying my bills, that I can, make investments and set myself up for a financial future that my generations behind me never had. And I took that very seriously. Like I wanted to change that for myself, future generations. There's something that's so amazing when you do have overflow, when you do have more than enough, when you do not have to worry about money every month. There's something that so amazing happens in your nervous system. The healing, the health, the caring for yourself, the ease that I believe God wants for us happens. And you know what's really key is you can really focus on what is God's purpose for your life and actually live that out when you're not worrying about how you're going to pay your bills, when you're not worried about how am I going to make the mortgage payment or the rent payment or this payment or that payment, when that's covered, that's taken care of, you already have that. Everything else is bonus. So you can spend your time on doing something that is serving people, giving your purpose in the world the way that you want to. It just opens up so much opportunity to do good and to live out, really the purpose on your life. And so struggle, I do not believe. I mean, we can go to Proverbs. There are so many scripture in the book of Proverbs that talk about, he doesn't need us to struggle, right? Like there's the day of rest for a reason. There is this idea that we are supposed to, have ease and rest for our hard work. but we're also supposed to work hard. So what did your parents say about money? And just really ask yourself, like, I also, there was some definite judgments from my family around really rich people, and how they must have gotten it from an inheritance and never had to work for it, or they must have, they didn't really have to work hard for it. That was pretty much the thing that we thought, or the thing that my family thought. And there would be sort of a jealousy and a negative view on people who did inherit money, right? And so, like, when you even think about that, like, I want my future children to inherit money and to have an inheritance, and a healthy inheritance that will make their life easier, and perhaps future generations. And so I can't give that to them. I can't create that if I am negative, judgmental about people who have walked into that are currently living here on the earth, right? Like, those two things don't go together. And so that's what we're really talking about here. How these beliefs, these undercurrents underneath, when you see someone with a fancy car, what do you think, right? Like, I know that there's a lot of women who see a woman in a Range Rover or an Escalade or a fancy car, and think it must be their husband's money, right? So, like, just start examining how you think about it. And this is what's really going to help change your financial set point, your financial thermostat. You're going to be able to start to raise it here's what's key. When you become more neutral around money, and it doesn't have such a grasp, a grip, a hold physiologically, like it gives you anxiety or stress or anger or fear, when you really heal that and money becomes neutral, like it's there, it's not, you can make it, it can go, you can spend it, you can make it. That's when your financial thermostat raises. And that might sound arbitrary or like a fictitious ideal that you don't even know how to work towards, but you start with the questions. You start with your beliefs around money. You start to look at, what do you think your financial thermostat is set at right now? And the tip there is, where have you never gotten past? Maybe it's $100,000 a year, or maybe it's $50,000 a year, or whatever it is. What is it for you? Maybe it's $1 million a year, right? Like, I get to start looking at that now there's always new levels. And it's like, there's no reason that I can't, hold multiple millions in bank accounts. And why not 10 million? There's no reason why that can't happen, right? So what are my limitations now? What are my beliefs now? And so we can always be doing this work. So if there's $100,000 level for you that you just have never gotten past and you can't figure out how, and you're an entrepreneur, obviously, and you know that you can in the line of work that you're doing, or you could start a side hustle, or you could start another business, then the work really is to look at underneath, what are your beliefs? What are your beliefs about how much you receive, how much work you have to do? What your parents said about money. What do you think about rich people? Read the books that I talked about, and automatically this is going to start to raise your financial thermostat, meaning you're going to be able to hold more. It's going to feel more neutral to you to have overflow in your bank account. And that's the key thing that I want you to take from this. Like, when that started happening for me, everything changed. When I didn't have to at all think about how to pay, how much cash really is in my bank accounts to pay the bills, that was huge. That was just a life-changing time. And so I want that for you too. And it can always grow. All right. Hopefully this was helpful. Leave a comment, send me a DM on Instagram if you have any comments, or you just want to say hi. Go out and get my book also, if you haven't already, because I talk all about the emotional intelligence needed to develop and grow and build a 7-figure business. So you can go out and get that on Amazon or go to sevenfigurecoachbook.com. And I love you. I'll see you on the next episode.